Hello everyone, welcome. This is Ian here, bringing you your next assignment tutorial. This is assignment 5, where we're starting to put together the background illustration for our state fair final poster illustrator project. Just a couple things before we get in. I'm using the same size canvas as I used in our last project, which was, I believe, 3000 by 3000. It doesn't matter too much because today I'm going to concentrate on just building the assets, and then later on I'll bring them all in one big file where we'll make our final scene. So not too important to have the correct dimensions and illustration size set up because we're just going to make these assets here. So in this video I'm just going to focus on making this first one, the Ferris wheel. But there's a list of the ones that, some suggested items that you should have in your scene. Basically you're going to do a recreation of the NC State Fair. So we'll start today with the Ferris wheel. But take a look here, just make sure you have some of these in your scene. A big part of this assignment is gathering image reference to use when you construct your together. So if you look under here, I have this layer already in called image reference. You see I've grabbed just a couple of pictures of a Ferris wheel. I believe this is the NC State Ferris wheel, but I can bring them in and use them as reference, and I can put them off to the side. All the space outside of your artboard is usable. You can use it at any time, so take advantage of it and put some stuff out there. Whenever I'm not using this, or I don't want to select them, I can either come in and lock everything, not selectable, or I can just hide them if I'm looking at them. But generally I do want to have them visible so I can always kind of take inspiration from what exists in reality. If you're looking to bring in photos from Illustrator into Illustrator like this, there's two ways. One, you can just copy and paste them in. That's totally fine. Just edit, paste. Or you can also import them or just open them. So if you have them saved as like a PNG or a JPEG file, just open them here and they'll come into your scene. But I just copy and paste them in. That's just easy for me. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to get started actually creating our shapes here. The first thing I want to do is make a new layer. Call it Ferris wheel. Now if I look at my reference and zoom in, I'll see that I've got two, really more like three big rings that kind of come out and hold the structure together. That's where I'm going to start. My biggest shape first. Come to the shape tool, right click, ellipse tool. Click and drag, hold shift to keep it a sphere, hold down alt or option to drag from the center. Something like this. Just make things easier on me later. I'm going to go ahead and align this to my artboard. So align to artboard, center, center. That would be right in the middle of my canvas. You can always go back and change things later, but having it aligned to the middle will make some things easier in a bit. Alright, the next thing I want to do is select my shape. If you're unsure, you can always come over to your layers and select the little circle here. I'm going to hit Control or Command C to copy. And then I actually want to hit Control or Command Shift V to paste in place. So if I came up here, it'd be Edit, Paste in Place. The reason I do that is if you just paste in Illustrator, it's actually going to offset it a little bit so you can see that you've pasted it. We don't want that because what we're going to do now is select the bottom ellipse. We're going to hit S on our keyboard. We're going to left click and drag to put it into the middle. And hold down the shift key so that everything stays nice and uniform. And I can always come back and tweak this later, but I just want to get that basic two-ring Ferris wheel shape. We'll worry about the middle one later. Alright, the next thing I want to do is put in these big pillars that are kind of holding, or these supports that are holding up the whole thing. So to do that, I'm just going to grab a simple shape. I think I'm going to grab a rectangle actually right now. I'm just going to click that and drag from my center. And how big or small it is doesn't really matter too much because I can always go back and change it. So what I want to do is I want to align this rectangle with kind of the middle of my artboard on the top. Something like that looks pretty good. And then what I want to do is I want to rotate it so it kind of keeps this in the center, but it swings out to the side. And the way you can do that, so you notice if you try to rotate it here, you're just going to rotate from the center, and that's not really what we want. I mean, you could rotate it and like drag it over and line it up, but let's be a little more exact. So let's hit the R key on our keyboard, and what that will do is activate the rotate tool. So once you have the rotate tool selected, you see you have the center pivot. If you left click anywhere on here the first time, it's going to move that pivot point up to the top here. And now if I left click and drag, you see I can start pivoting from that point, and I can actually set my rotation to, so maybe some like 30 degrees. I don't know, maybe a little more. 27, doesn't really matter. Okay. Then I've kind of got that support put into place. Now you notice that doesn't look like anything like what's in my reference here. It's way too big, way too weighty. But what I can do here, I can start modifying things with the direct selection tool. Oops. If you ever grab everything like that at once, just double click with your selection tool, and that will put you in isolation mode, and then you can grab the parts you want. You can scale them in like this. This is what I wanted to do. Just kind of scale along this path. Something like that. And we're going to do the same thing back here. Just hit the S key, scale the back a little bit too. Next thing you'll notice is that this is not flat on the ground, so I'm going to grab this and drag it down. Something like that. I can always move this over too if I want to heavier support. I'm using the keyboard keys to kind of make fine adjustments. I just find it easier. I can drag this down too if I want. Something like this. Looks pretty good. I'm going to escape back. And get my support set up like that. What you can do is you can also copy these over if you want to. We're going to do that in a little bit. There's the repeat mirror that we do just to line them up. We're actually going to wait a little bit because we can do a little more of we can make this kind of do our work for us if we did. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So that's kind of the start for the basic shapes. We'll come back here in a second and we'll get into some more detailed stuff. Right, from here, just make sure to rename your layers as you go. So it'll just make it easier to work with later. Like if you look back through them being like, what is that? You can always be like, okay, this is my left support. Say outer ring. Oops, not that one. Inner ring. Okay, we'll go from there. Next, I'm going to kind of show how to put in the spokes in the Ferris wheel. What's going in here. And the way we'll do that is we'll start just by making a line. Pretty simple. Just going to make it out to the edge like this. Looks good, and then we'll select this. You see we have this line right here. Let's say wheel spoke. We'll say wheel spokes, and you'll see why in a second. So what we could do is we could take this, we could duplicate it, we could rotate it over and over again, but there's an easier way to do this. What I'm going to do instead is come up here, and I'm going to go to Object. I'll scroll down here to Repeat, and I'm going to choose Radial. And what that's going to do, it's going to make this radial repeat for me. Now if you notice it's not entirely localized, but we can fix that. I'm just going to reposition it. And this is its own object actually now. So you can always go back and edit it. Like, don't worry about clicking off of it, because if you go back and grab it, you'll always be grabbing like the whole thing. You won't just have to worry about grabbing your one piece. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to grab it, and then we're going to grab our outside ring, which we say outer ring. And we're going to say align to key object. That key object is going to be the outer ring. There we go. Move it up just like this. Okay, cool. So now we've aligned these spokes to the outer ring. What we need to do here is now click on it, and you'll see that if we zoom in, we get some options. I'm not going to hide the rest of this stuff for right now, just so you can kind of see the pieces a little bit better. So if you see right here, if you scroll up, you're actually going to put in more instances of the spokes. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one of how many that is. Again, you don't want things to look too visually busy. You can kind of come in here and see. Put this outline up here, because I also want to size it so that everything intersects just that outer ring like this. Put the size in here. And then you have a couple more options. You have rotation options here. You can also scale everything up and down. So if you want to put it further closer away, you can. The same option is available right here. If you grab it or make changes to it. I think there was one more I wanted to show. I think it was this one right here. Yeah. So if you ever don't want to do all of them, but maybe just want to do a sweep, like if I want to do half of them for some reason, you can grab this little handle down here. You can drag it along. And there's actually ones on both sides, so you can drag one arrow that way and one arrow that way. You can set a range. So however many you want. But we want all of them for right now, so we're just going to leave them all like that. And that looks pretty good. So that's how you use the radial repeat tool to put in like lots of overlapping things into your Ferris wheel. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use the pin tool. We're basically going to draw out the shape of these cars. You see we kind of got this nice round kind of cube deal here with the rounded edges on the sides. So you can just draw that out here. I just grab my pin tool, come here like this, maybe draw something out like that. Might be a little strong, but we can always change it later. Clip it, go straight here, go straight up, and come straight over. You might notice I only did half of it here. It's because I can always just grab it, copy paste it, and then duplicate it over. So if you see, just grab this one. I just did a paste in place again. Just did it, paste in place, and then I can just transform it with a reflect. Yep, looks good. And I just move it over with my arrow keys. Kind of find where it looks good. This looks like it's a little taller than it is wide, so move it in a little bit more, maybe like that. And then I can just grab my Pathfinder tool down here, or go up to Window, Pathfinder, and merge them. Then I kind of have a good starting basis for my car. Looks like we have like a little dip in it here, so I might smooth that out too. Way to smooth that out, double click it to isolate it. Press A to go into direct selection mode. Basically what you can do here is you can just take out some of these points. So I'm just coming here with my delete anchor point tool. Delete. Delete. And now if I zoom out, those should look perfectly straight. And they do. That looks better. Okay. So I have my shape here, and you can hit escape, the escape key to exit isolation mode. So the next thing I want to do is take a look at what kind of makes up these cars. So it looks like we've got a division between the windows and the doors, maybe a step here and a roof on top. So we can do that now. What I think I'm going to do is start renaming these. I'll call it car. And I'm going to add another division with my pen tool, just straight across here. I call this door. What I'm going to do is go ahead and make a group for these. So if you go up to the top, Object, Group, or hit Control or Command G, it'll basically make a new group for you. And then I can drop that car in there too. So everything is in one group, and I can call this Ferris Wheel Cabins. So that now basically they're all kept on their own layer, so I can keep them together. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is then just take a second to start building this up. I'm going to use my Pathfinder and my Shape Builder tools. So they can work together. So this is actually probably a better one right over here. You see I can like pop that off. Down here I can pop the bottom off. So I can call this car top, car bottom. And then honestly at this point this one can probably get deleted. Yep. So now I can take this one. If you select this, it's always going to select the group. If you want to select it, you can double click to isolate the whole group. And now you can grab these inside. Or you can double click again and just isolate the shitty one. Either way works. Or you can just find it on here and grab it like this. Whatever you want to do. Let's color that one red for now on the bottom so we can see it. But look back at our reference, we got these two bars kind of coming down here. So I'm going to click that, and we're going to go ahead and make that either with a line or the pen tool. Either one works. This is pretty easy, just do a stroke. And then you can do it again, or you can hold down Alt. Just copy it over. Something like that. In the meantime, we can also grab this one inside. Oops. Click. You can also fill this with something like a light blue. Kind of get that window feel. Okay, we can escape out. And I also like to make a separation kind of between the thickness of my main outlines and then my interior outlines. So right now I feel like these ones are a little too thick at the moment. Grab these. There's an 8 point right now. I'm just going to bring them down a little bit. Because although they should be there, they shouldn't be like taking all the weight, you know, of it. So kind of throw up our line weights a little bit. We need a roof for the top, and I also kind of want to make these little steps out here too. So those are easy enough, just more shapes. I usually prefer softer shapes than harder ones. So I'm going to go down here and make it a little bit rounded. Cancel. Obviously that's way too big, but you know, gotta start somewhere. And then I can come in here, my direct selection tool, and just thin it out. Something like this. Oops, make sure I'm in. Grab it. Oops. There we go. Make sure it's centered. I don't think that's quite centered. What I can do is, of course, I can align it to the top. Just go here, align to key object. and then I can just horizontally align it, and we should be good. And then I want to put in these little steps at the bottom. So, no reason not to just reuse it. Drag it down here. I do want to change the color to a light tan. Something like that, maybe. Select it, hit S. Just gotta scale it in. Maybe give it more of a step. Yeah, not too bad. And then what I want to do is I want to kind of clean up the work I've done. I can get rid of this, I don't really need it anymore. So delete that out. But over here I'm just going to kind of rename my stuff. If I'm ever don't remember what something is, I can always hide it and find it. So we can call this step up roof. We can call these, which one's this one? The right one. Divider right. Divider left. Now all of these can just go right into this Ferris wheel cabin group. We have the whole cabin kind of separated out. I think that's good for a basic one. For now, what we'll do, and what I probably will do, is come back here and kind of make things prettier, but I just want to show you the basic steps you might need to make it. And what we can do now is we can grab it, and if we select any part of it, it's going to select the whole thing. We can kind of put it in here and see how it looks. Just going to throw it down below these a little bit. Not too bad. And the nice thing about a Ferris wheel is that these cars should hang straight down. So, you know, no matter what we do, we won't have to rotate all of them because they'll all just hang straight. Looks like it's a little too big for me, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Do something like here, make sure I'm hanging it right on the money. And then what you can do is, like just before, is we can set up that radial duplicate with it. So. Okay everyone, next thing we're going to do is we're going to try doing a radial repeat with the cars, just to show you how that'll work. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to select my car, make sure it's that selected, and then go up to Object, Repeat, Radial. You can see by default it's not going to line up where you need it to, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to grab the whole thing and we're going to drag it down, and we're going to actually align it to this outer ring. So to do that, we're going to select this one, just select our outer Ferris wheel ring, and then we're going to align to key object, and then horizontal line and vertical line. Right. Once we've done that, we'll just select our radial repeat. And then we'll go, I think, to this one. Yep. And we're going to scale it up until we've reached right where they're going to overhang. Second thing we want to do is we want to increase the number of instances to the same number of spokes we have. I had 20, I believe, so I'm going to put it there, but we can double check by looking at the other radial repeat we made. Position them. Yeah, that looks correct. And I'm going to position them over the spokes, or between them. I guess either one works. I think they're over the spokes in a reference, so I'll just stick with that. There we are. And now we have to do a not fun part of this process, but I think it's still faster than just placing them by hand. What you want to do is come down. So now that we've placed them, you'll notice they're all facing inwards to the middle. And unfortunately, we don't have an option to really change that. So if you go to your repeat options and look, we really just don't have many. We have the number of instances around it, and then we have the angle that it's at, and that's about it. Not enough to do what we need. But we can get around that by going here and going to Object. We can go to Expand. We'll just leave it on the default settings and say OK. What that's going to do is now it's going to take us out of that radial repeat with that tool setting, and it's going to give us the 20 individual carts, or individual carriages, as their own thing. Now I'm going to show you what to do to orient these all in the right way, but it will take a little bit of time. So what you're going to do is come down with your direct selection tool. Oh wait, easier thing to do first actually, if you want to select them like this, is come up to the group, and then come up here, go Object, Ungroup. And now we just have the individual cabins to work with, so we can just click on them one at a time, and we don't need to double click each time. At the end, we are going to group them back up, because there's too many to have without a group, 20 objects. But for this kind of repetitive part of the process, it's better to have them each on their own layer. So what I'm going to do here is hit the arc, and again, like last time, I'm just going to left click to set my pivot point right on the spoke. I'm going to flip it around till it's roughly hanging straight up and down. You can use the guides to check. And then I'm going to work my way around. Don't forget to click the pivot point. And I'm going to speed this part of the video up because it is boring. But I'll see you all once I finish at the top. Okay, welcome back everyone. Hopefully that wasn't too mind-numbing, it didn't take too long. But the next thing I would do is, once you do that, is make sure you grab all your stuff together. Come up here, Object. Make sure you select the circle, so they're selected. I do that a lot. Right now they're all selected, Object, Group. And now you have your one big group, which you can say Ferris wheel cabins. Something like that. And if you want to get an idea of how everything's looking, you can kind of bring everything back in at the moment. Only thing I'm looking at is this left support should be on top here. I'm going to put a fill on it so we can get a better idea of what it's looking like. Again, make sure I select the circle. Something like this. So we'll see that this needs to come down in order to that the cars aren't crashing and burning into the ground. But we'll kind of tweak that and kind of get everything looking better in the next one. Hey everyone, in this next one, I'm just basically going to go through the Ferris wheel and do some cleaning up of certain parts. I'm going to make some of my lines thicker, I'm going to take some of my lines away. I'm going to just adjust things so that everything's a little bit better and everything, I don't know, overlaps a little bit better and doesn't look so messy and busy. So probably won't be talking much through this one. I might speed it up a little bit just so you can see the process. Really, all I'm going to do is go through and just clean stuff up. So we'll see you at the tail end. Okay, I've done a little bit of basic cleanup here, just to kind of make some of the things pop a little bit more and stand out a little bit. Something I want to kind of tackle and showcase is, you see we've got this kind of striping on these support poles. So something I want to do is kind of like go and show like an easy way that you could set that up and do that. So I think right now I'm going to go hide some things that we don't need for this. Maybe something like this. We kind of see our basic elements. So one of the first things we want to do is we just want to get a rectangle. Something maybe like this. Doesn't have to be super wide. It actually just has to be wide enough at the base. Something like this. I'm actually going to turn the stroke off. Since this one's green, we'll just make this one green as well. And I'm gonna see, this one's, is it just flush or at an angle? 1 second. Maybe a very slight angle. I'll tilt it up a little bit. Something like that, maybe. Okay. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to Object, Repeat, Grid. Make a few adjustments right off the bat. First off, we really only want one here. I'm gonna turn it like this. Drag this down, keep it going. Kind of work out the spacing of the lines a little bit too. Maybe something like that. Okay. So right now you have this grid repeat, and we are on the left support right now, so I'm going to drag this down. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy and paste in place left support. I'm going to call it left support mask, like this. What I'm going to do is take it down right here into the grid repeat. I'm going to click that. I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, make, oops, other way around, sorry. I think we want like this. There we go, perfect. Now we've set up this kind of clipping mask. Oops. You can see we kind of have this stripe pattern that we put in. Now if you're confused about what we did there, basically we just made a mask that's the exact same shape as it. We can kind of put in these stripes right here and mask it out. So we can kind of get the same colors. Also, I'm not even sure how that's going to look. Probably a lot like Christmas, I guess. Looks like some of it will be modified a little bit. Not too bad. Let's drag that right here. Perfect. Okay. And earlier I talked about how that's something that we could save time on, as if I didn't even put this like leg over there, and it's just because we can grab this group and just duplicate it. So I am going to group these together. Object, whoops. And every time, make sure you select the actual paths, object, group, and then you can also just use Control G. It's a shortcut for that. And then I can just take that group, call that left support, group. And then I can just duplicate it. Object, transform, reflect. Slide it into place right here. Something like that, I think. Okay. And that's a pretty basic rendition of the Ferris wheel, but feel free to keep pushing this further and make it your own. You know, no reason to kind of just stop with what I've done. I might go ahead and touch it back up a little bit and then kind of pop back with you with another update. But I think this is all you'll kind of need at the start. Just look into this, follow along, use the radial tools to make the Ferris wheel, and you'll have one in no time. So thank you all.